Real quick, I want to do a speed run of some of the stupidest parts in the Resident Evil Netflix series. Of course, in episode 1, we have the discussion of Zootopia porn. Yes, animal porn. Okay, I don't need that. Thank you very much. And then we got teenagers talking about each other's ass and complimenting. That's fucking gross. Grown adults should not be writing this stuff in a TV show for adults, okay? It's fucked up. When Jade is communicating with her husband in the future, she is on a Windows 10 tablet. Yes, you heard that correctly. A Windows 10 tablet in the year 2036, okay? We already have Windows 11, so it's out of date already. Very silly. And not only that, but her voice chat is happening on the Notepad application on her tablet. Similarly, in present day, in the same episode, we have them also using Windows 10 to video chat, except this time she's using Microsoft Paint on a computer that is shown not to have any internet connection whatsoever. So, doing really well in the graphics department. Definitely nobody would ever notice that. Why even bother? Who cares? And who could forget how Billy and Jade go through all this trouble in their house to avoid the cameras crawling below kitchen counters and all of that, but yet they are live streaming the full thing to the CEO of Umbrella's son on Umbrella's network, after acknowledging that they have complete control over all networking in the town. What were they thinking? And don't even get me started on the overdose of cringe that was the dancing CEO scene. The show tries to throw in a bunch of member berries, little Easter eggs. They got the Moonlight Sonata. They got these dumb kids playing that. They have the chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4. They got a typewriter in one scene. They got Lisa in another scene. So, of course, I like seeing those things, but with everything else surrounding it, it's not enough on its own to make it better. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shuggy from Shook Earth Media, and today we're talking about Resident Evil Netflix. This is the latest terrible Netflix adaptation and terrible Resident Evil adaptation. We can't seem to even get a single one that is good or at least competent. I mean, the most recent one I gave a positive review because I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it's a good film. So we never really had a good one. And this one does nothing to change that. But before we get into my reasons why, if you like zombie stuff, if you like Resident Evil, if you like Walking Dead and shows like that, horror stuff, we review that type of thing on this channel. So definitely sub and like, and I hope to hear your opinions in the comment section down below, and hope to see you in the next video. So the series is about the evil corporation Umbrella. This takes place after the events of Raccoon City, which are depicted in Resident Evil 1 through 3, and also the most recent film. However, this has nothing to do with the recent film continuity. It's supposed to be in line with the games, but it ignores everything that happens after Resident Evil 5. So there's not a lot of continuity here. But basically, Umbrella, the corporation that made bioweapons, they made the virus that makes zombies, all these monsters, etc. Well, they're back. But now they got an antidepressant drug that is actually the T-virus remade, okay? So it's a really dumb concept, you know, the idea that you would use the T-virus, which made zombies, as a drug. I mean, even the fact that Umbrella was able to cover up everything that happened in Raccoon City is a bit far-fetched. So these are just decisions that put it at odds to what Resident Evil is supposed to be. And that is a trend that continues throughout the series. So there's two timelines in the show. There's the present day timeline, which is the new Umbrella trying to sell this antidepressant drug. And then there's the future timeline, which is a zombie apocalypse, essentially, that takes place after another T-virus outbreak, except it's like a super T-virus outbreak because now the zombies are super fast and they're not like how they were. They're like upgraded. Splitting timelines is like a new trend, but in this show it really doesn't pay off at all because that whole setup makes me think that the present day timeline is going to end up showing the outbreak. I mean, that feels like it would be the whole point, but I guess they thought that was too predictable, so they didn't do that, and instead this whole time is spent building up these two characters, Billy and Jade, who are two of the most unlikable characters I've ever seen on any TV show ever, okay? They are absolutely insufferable. They insult everybody. They are mean to people that are nice to them. They are completely disrespectful to their father. There is nothing appealing about these characters. And then the future version of Jade is even worse because she's a little bit less mean, but she's really, really dumb. Like, she's supposed to be the scientist that's on the brink of a discovery or something, but really, she just makes the worst decisions. Experiments that are extremely dangerous and have absolutely terrible consequences. There's a point where she wants to research a zombie, and she brings it back to the boat that she's on. She does it in secret on her own, almost gets killed before even getting back to the boat, ties up the zombie with weaker restraints, things that the zombies can break. And she's seen in this show zombies breaking out of restraints prior to that. And then, of course, she lets her daughter watch her do this experiment. And then the zombie breaks free and kills somebody, and it's 100% her fault. So she does a lot of stupid shit in this show. And she's supposed to be the smart one. And so she's unlikable, she's stupid, there's literally nothing redeeming about her at all. So the worst protagonist of all time. And that, in and of itself, is enough to make the show fall flat. But there's even more dumb stuff than that, okay? Well, we didn't get into Billy at all. She's the one that's supposed to be, she's like the vegan, she's the progressive one, she cares about animals and all this other stuff. But she ends up being a vicious killer working with Umbrella by the end. And they're supposed to do this whole plot twist where you think she's going to die of the virus and be the beginning of the outbreak. And that would have been way more interesting to see, although predictable, I suppose, but it's better than the alternative, which is just to have her as a really obnoxious villain at the end and the sibling rivalry that nobody cares about. Pretty much anytime the teenagers are talking in the show, I had to fast forward the show. I put it on 1.5 speed, all of that. I can't stand it. And even seeing them in the future all grown up, even more insufferable. I couldn't stand that either. So really, their relationship, everything about these two characters falls completely flat. So the show is never going to work on those basis alone. And really, Resident Evil is not a complex franchise. It's never been like a really deep psychological look, except for it's changing with the more recent ones. But in the past, I mean, the characters were simplistic, but that was like by design because the story is really just about experiencing the environment. So they're just supposed to be likable characters. But they do absolutely everything we can in this show to make these characters unlikable. The Jade character, she has a boyfriend who's the son of Umbrella's CEO, but really she just insults him and does all these degrading things to him. She tells him to stay, like he's a dog, all this really disrespectful stuff. And if for some reason he still helps her and hangs out with her and all that. So it makes no sense at all. It's not realistic. This guy needs to stand up for himself. But really, it's a bunch of weak men in the show. It's just a pattern that is hard to ignore because they take Albert Wesker, who is one of the toughest antagonists in the Resident Evil series, very memorable, over-the-top, flamboyant character, but he's very evil, okay? Stereotypically evil, I would say. And this version of him is just really weak. He lets his kids walk all over him. And yeah, we find out he's a clone later, and we'll get back to that scene. I actually kind of enjoyed that scene. But the whole point of just advertising it as a show about Albert Wesker, and then you see him as just this really milquetoast guy who's making a moral stand against Umbrella for some reason. They're trying to make the villains likable and the heroes unlikable, and I just don't understand the logic of it. So really, the Wesker thing, they make it make sense by acknowledging that Wesker did in fact die, and that Wesker had these clones. And I like the idea of the clones, because Wesker was obsessed with immortality, so it would make sense that he would try to clone himself and do experiments on other versions of himself. I feel like there should have been more clones if they were going to really go down this route, like a bunch of clones, and he did like terrible experiments on them, vicious stuff. I would have liked them to go deeper into that concept. It's not a terrible concept, to be honest, and if they were upfront about that instead of presenting it as a twist, I might have been into it. Yeah, and also just the idea Umbrella covers everything up. The public doesn't know who Wesker is a bit hard to believe. So yeah, the Wesker thing really doesn't work. The actor's good. I like the actor, but I don't think he's even really quite over the top enough to be a great Wesker, in my opinion. He's really more great at subdued roles where he's withholding, where he maybe is not showing as much emotion. Maybe that might be typecasting to a degree based on roles he's had in the past, but I do feel like we need somebody who's more over the top with a lot more energy. So that's just my opinion on it. We get to see him as the actual Wesker in the flashback scene, which again is a scene I actually enjoyed. You get to see Lance in the full Wesker getup, and they did all right with making him kind of look the part as much as he can. But I mean, it did look kind of cheap and it was a little silly. But I enjoyed that scene because it's like that's the Resident Evil that we know. That's what I want to see more of. And really, it could have been so simple if they just had characters we know and like, and we just like did the normal Resident Evil thing, and we didn't overcomplicate it. It would have been great. So that's our three main characters: Jade, Billy, absolutely terrible characters. I hope I never see again. Wesker, I didn't hate this character once you know he's a clone, but really the whole point is just to reskin Wesker as somebody weak in milquetoast. So it's really just continuing this trend of trying to weaken the past. It does look like a Last Jedi Luke Skywalker situation to me. That's really what this show is about. So, and also, I just want to point out that Umbrella looks really weak in this show because these kids are able to break into their offices. They're able to unlock various containers, and Albert Wesker is able to use the same password for years on end. And there aren't even security guards there at night. They want him to look powerful when it's convenient for the story, and they want it to look weak when it's not convenient for the story. So that's kind of annoying. Apocalypse storyline is really just an excuse for them to actually have action scenes in the show. So the most entertaining parts to me personally were definitely in the future version, because we got the liquor scene, and yeah, the liquor scene is really stupid. There's really stupid setups for everything, but when the monsters are on screen, I mean, they look good, they look the part, the effects are okay, and I like the zombies they did. They call them zeros for some reason, I don't know why. Again, they don't justify why they're different than zombies they were before, and I don't know why we need to have Resident Evil be an apocalypse anyway, because that's not what it is. It's not The Walking Dead. They're different franchises for good reason. Not to mention the fact that this whole premise of Jade abandoning her family to do this experiment, extremely dangerous experiment that she almost gets killed doing, and then she doesn't have anything to show for it, and the only thing they do to try to make her likable is the fact that she has this connection with her family. She has a daughter and a husband and all of that, but she's completely going against their family's interests because she abandons her daughter for months, and then she spends the rest of the time trying to get back to the family, and then once she gets back to the family, she immediately puts them in really great risk, and everything bad that happens is her fault. So in the future storyline, there's a lot of Deus Ex Machina, a lot of people showing up conveniently at the perfect time to save Jade and get her story moving forward, and it's really lazy writing, and it's just a cat and mouse game that keeps going on, and it's really not satisfying. It doesn't lead to anything. Basically what happens is Jade fails completely at everything, leads Umbrella directly back to her family, and gets maybe killed as a result at the end. She's in limbo whether she's going to survive or not, as is the show, which I expect to be canceled. So that's pretty much all that happens, other than she coincidentally runs into a Zero that has mind-controlling abilities of other Zeros, and she is able to use that to create pheromones that cause the zombies to do whatever. But I gotta point out, when they do the experiments, they are not even dressed in like hazmat suits when they're testing with the T virus. They're not like doing any quarantine procedures. They don't. I already mentioned the experiment earlier where she put her daughter at risk and all that. So very, very dumb scientist. So really all she does is make stupid decisions and almost get herself killed. Her sister is now like this insane villain, and Albert Wesker does this heroic sacrifice at the end, which is really pointless and doesn't it seemed very unnecessary that they could have set the bomb to go off and then left. Like, he didn't need to stay behind and get shot like that. So that's where we end up at the end. Albert Wesker's dead. Jade is maybe dead, probably not. Billy is a villain working with Umbrella, and there's really nothing other than, oh, the tyrant might show up. Like, are they going to continue the two timelines thing next season where we get to finally see the outbreak? We should have got this season. I don't know. There's no reason for the show to exist, and I hope it comes off the air. And I hope we can eventually get some decent Resident Evil, but honestly, I'm cool with just it staying a video game series because the games have been consistently good. So we can just look forward to Resident Evil 4 Remake, look forward to Resident Evil Village DLC, and just forget about this in a couple months. I won't be thinking about it ever again. So that's where I'm at with the show, guys. Let me know what your opinions are in the comment section down below, and I hope to hear from you. With that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.